Look at the glow on your face. Did your fairy godmother visit you last night? Sam chuckled as he walked alongside Jacob. Going out with a rich girl has given him a different aura, another roommate said as he rubbed his chin. The three roommates were all eyeing Jacob with a grin. He has grace and elegance in his every move, the third roommate said in a teasing voice. They had been teasing him, but Jacob did feel his aura had changed ever since he made the breakthrough last night. It seemed he had merged with nature. Although he couldn't absorb the essence of nature yet, he had a faint feeling that he himself was the nature. He had this feeling after he had just reached the first level of the basic cultivation technique, but he was not a true cultivator yet. No wonder Sophie's third uncle, Kenneth, regarded mortals with disdain, Jacob reflected while he savored the changes in his body. Jacob and his three roommates were on their way to class when they met some of the girls from their class who had just come out of the cafeteria after breakfast. Kathy was one of them. She looked at Jacob and was about to brush past him to take her usual seat in the front. But she felt something strange, and she turned to take a good look at Jacob. Weird. He is wearing the same clothes as yesterday. There's something different about his presence. Kathy was a little confused by his appearance. She brushed away her thoughts and shook her head. She continued walking toward the class. Kathy looked at you twice. Have you two been seeing each other? Sam asked Jacob with a wink. Jacob snorted. How is that possible? In his heart, Kathy was not only the class president, but one of the most popular girls in the university as well. She was way out of his league. Besides, he was engaged. The roommates walked into the classroom just before the class began. Taking a window seat to get some fresh air, Jacob dug out his study material and started to get ready for his tutoring session with Sophie. Why didn't you reply to my text yesterday? In the middle of class, Jacob received a text message from Kathy. Surprised, he looked up and met Kathy's gaze. He wondered why the diligent, always with her head in the books class president would send him a message during the class. Hurriedly, he looked down and answered her message. You mean about the long-distance run? I got it. You are the only participant in our class, and only 6 have been selected in our whole major to enter the games. I hope you won't disappoint me. She sent another text message. All of a sudden, Jacob had a palpable amount of pressure. The biennial athletic games in the university was a competition held among all the students, regardless of age. The most athletic students, selected from the tens of thousands of students in the university, would compete with one another. It was a big show. Got it, Jacob answered the text message. He had been a renowned long-distance runner in high school, but he had never entered any inter-school competitions and didn't gain points for it during his university entrance examination. Kathy had high hopes for him, but he was not so confident with himself. Although he was fast, he had spent almost all his time playing video games after he entered university. It had been a long time since he had put any real efforts into practice. Thinking that was the end of their conversation, he was surprised when Kathy sent him another text saying, Did you get a haircut yesterday? How come I feel like you look different today? No, I didn't, Jacob answered. Then Kathy stopped messaging him. Jacob wondered if he had sounded uninterested. He was immersed in high school English practice questions. In the evening, Jacob again took the bus to Sophie's home. No longer a stranger, Jacob was not as reserved as last time. However, he still remained silent on topics about their family. After dinner, Helen declined Jacob's offer to clean the table for her and asked him to tutor Sophie. Reluctantly, Sophie followed Jacob up to the second floor. Giving it a day's thought, Jacob had decided to tutor Sophie according to the different knowledge points. Today's quiz focused on the most common topic in the high school English course, the tenses. Time went by quickly. Sophie racked her brains and finally finished the quiz. Are you sure you were really good at it? With her chin propped up in her palm, Sophie was spinning a ballpoint pen with the other hand and watched Jacob mark her paper earnestly. She had changed out of her school uniform into a short t-shirt with a kitten print on the front and a red plaid skirt. Jacob was trying not to get distracted by how unbelievably cute she looked. Slouching on the chair with her legs curled beneath her, she was oblivious that Jacob could see her belly button. "If you learn earnestly with me, it won't be too difficult for you to be one of the top 3 in your class." Jacob scrawled a big red score of 30 on the paper before returning it to her. Ignoring her pouting lips of disapproval, Jacob pointed at the first question and began to explain. "Since it uses yesterday in the first part of the sentence, you must use past tense with the verb. And the past tense of say is said, not said. Hey, listen up and note this down." Seeing Jacob's earnest face, Sophie looked resentful. Still, she had to listen to him and began taking notes in her notebook. Jacob had seen the books in Helen's studio and knew her English was excellent. He wondered how her daughter didn't pick up the language from her. At the end of the 1-hour tutoring session, the upper end of Sophie's ballpoint pen was almost chewed off, showing how much she resented studying. "Jacob, follow me upstairs." Drakon showed up by the door promptly after the study session. "Okay." Putting down the papers, Jacob followed Drakon up the small stairs into the studio. "It seems that you have broken through level 1, Drakon asked when they were inside the studio. "It seems so. I feel that my body has been unlocked." "Well, good job. However, the first level is quite simple. Today, I will teach you the next part." Drakon looked calm, without any signs of surprise or joy. Jacob sat down and listened to him patiently, wondering what realm Drakon had reached. Whatever realm Drakon was in, it couldn't be low. Jacob had never dreamed of flying in the sky, entering the earth, shattering the mountains, and tumbling the oceans. Saving his own life was his purpose. And if he achieved some accomplishments in his cultivation, he would be more confident in helping Sophie survive the crisis when the time came. Of course, he knew that Sophie's family was trying their best to help him, though strictly speaking, Sophie had caused all this trouble. However, they would rather place their own daughter at risk than sacrificing innocent Jacob. That alone showed more wisdom and fairness than most parents could ever have. Soon, it was 9:30, and Drakon had explained every point of the Spirit Concentration Scroll in detail. "You can come back at the same time tomorrow. Then, you can cultivate by yourself and ask me whenever you have any questions." Glancing up at the clock, Drakon instructed. Jacob nodded. Walking out of the studio to the second floor, he entered Sophie's room and found her working hard on her homework. Not wanting to interrupt her, he gathered his tutoring materials and quietly left the room. "I'll drive you back." Drakon appeared at the door and offered. "Thank you," Jacob accepted. On the way back to school, Drakon suddenly asked, "Can you drive?" "I got my license last summer, but I'm still a beginner," Jacob answered. "How about I buy you a car so you can come and go with ease? Which one would you like, a Chevrolet or a Volkswagen?" Drakon asked casually, as if he was talking about a $10 toy instead of a car worth thousands of dollars. It's not necessary. I can always take a cab back to my college," Jacob said in a hurry. Drakon didn't pursue the topic. He drove Jacob to the dorm building in silence. "Okay, please tell Sophie that I have to participate in the athletic games next week and I'll have to practice. I'll resume the tutoring sessions next Tuesday." "Okay." Drakon restarted the car with a steady hand and disappeared around the corner. A calm father-in-law, a gentle mother-in-law, a willful young fiancé. What more will come my way? Inhaling deeply, Jacob walked into the dorm building. When he got into his dorm room, his 3 roommates were still out. Apparently, they were at an internet cafe playing games. Opening his backpack, Jacob was in the progress of reorganizing the tutoring material and saw that a big pig head had been drawn on the title page of his high school English test bank. A coarse nose, bulging eyes, droopy ears, and thick lips. On the side were the words, "I'm the pighead owner of this sad book." Gazing at the caricature of the pighead that was meant to look ugly but actually looked a bit like him, Jacob chuckled.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.